The World Cup is about to put the United States through a real-time stress test. The kind that you can't rehearse and you can't restructure in the middle. Because this isn't just the next World Cup, it's the largest World Cup ever attempted. The tournament is expanding from 32 to 48 teams and from 64 matches to 104. FIFA expects around 5 million international visitors to come to North America. For context, Qatar brought in about 1.5 million people in 2022. So this time the event stretches across 3 countries, the US, Canada, and Mexico. That means 3 sets of airports, immigration systems, security environments, and transportation networks, all which have to function in sync for an entire month. So the US is handling the bulk of this. 60 of the 104 matches will be played in American cities: LA, New York, Dallas, Atlanta, Seattle, Miami, Houston, and Kansas City. Each will absorb hundreds of thousands, in some cases millions of visitors in just a few weeks. This will break the 1994 US World Cup attendance record of 3.6 million spectators, even though that tournament had half as many teams and 40 fewer matches. But the US in 2026 is very different than it was in 1994. Back then, airports were way less congested, infrastructure was newer, tourism was growing, and major systems weren't under the strain they face today.
There are questions about the impact President Trump's travel ban could have on athletes and fans trying to get into this country.
This is going to be an event that's going to have billions of dollars of economic impact to the region, create thousands of jobs.
The US is now dealing with aging transportation systems, record travel volumes, staffing shortages, and a visa pipeline struggling to clear the backlog. So the question here is, can the US host the most complex World Cup ever, especially at a time when many of its systems already feel a bit overloaded? The first real-world test of the 2026 World Cup begins the moment fans land in the US. And here's the reality: American airports are consistently lagging behind airports in other major countries. On the latest Skytrax list of the world's top 20 airports, not a single US airport is in the top 20. Meanwhile, airports in Tokyo, Seoul, Singapore, Doha, Zurich, and Munich dominate the top. LAX usually ranks somewhere in the 80s, JFK is behind it, and Chicago O'Hare doesn't even crack the top 100. And these airports are already operating at near capacity. So LAX processed 66 million passengers, JFK processed 62 million, and Dallas-Fort Worth 81 million, making it the second busiest airport on Earth. And you have to remember here, World Cup visitors are not just going to be flying into the country, they're flying around the country and other countries. The US already moves about 1.7 million domestic passengers every day. During the World Cup, that number could surge dramatically as fans chase matches from coast to coast. But the biggest bottleneck here is probably actually not going to be the flights, it's going to be immigration. On a normal day, passport control lines in major US airports can stretch from an hour to an hour and a half. During the World Cup, those wait times could double. Airports that already feel crowded, especially in the summer, are about to get way more crowded. And then there's the US visa system. So right now, it's one of the slowest tourist visa pipelines in the world. So if you're in Bogota right now, you will need to wait 400 days to get a visa interview. Even if you're in Mexico City and you want to do a visa interview for the US, you may need to wait 150 to 180 days. That's 6 months. Also, the application fee is $185, approval isn't guaranteed, and many people will need to fly to another city just to secure an appointment. Meanwhile, previous hosts took a very different approach. Qatar 2022 processed over 1 million digital visas in just weeks. Brazil 2014 waived visa requirements for citizens of many countries. Millions of fans need visas, the system is overloaded today, and if processing doesn't accelerate dramatically, a portion of ticket holders just simply won't get in. This is one of the least visible but most consequential challenges of the entire tournament. But to understand why the visa system is so congested right now, you have to zoom out. Before the pandemic, the US was the second most visited country in the world. Today, that has slipped to the 6th. In 2023, the US welcomed around 10 million fewer foreign visitors than it did in 2019. Tourism has not recovered, and a major reason is policy. During the Trump administration, visa screening tightened. There was embassy staff cuts, more layers of security checks, slower approvals, and higher rejection rates for visas. These were policy choices that have created long-term bottlenecks, and the State Department hasn't rebuilt its capacity fast enough. So right as the world prepares to send millions of fans to the US, the system that processes their paperwork paperwork is still digging out from changes made years ago. Okay, but if there's one area that the US actually has a really big advantage here, it's stadiums. NFL venues are enormous. They're modern and they're built to move big crowds efficiently. But FIFA standards are a little bit different here. For the World Cup, stadiums need natural grass instead of turf, wider fields, expanded locker rooms, even specific lighting configurations, upgraded broadcast infrastructure, and extended security perimeters. And those changes cost a lot of money. MetLife Stadium will spend tens of millions on modification. AT&T Stadium in Dallas could spend over $150 million in upgrades. And Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City is budgeting over $300 million. So nationwide, stadium renovations could cost between $2 to $4 billion here. I used to think that being busy and being productive are the same thing. Turns out they're not. Recently, I've had these moments where I realize I'm copying, pasting, updating, checking. It's like basically the admin stuff that ultimately drains your focus. I was jumping between email, a project tracker, spreadsheets, and reminders, kind of doing the same thing over and over again. None of it was hard, but it felt endless. That's when I started using Zapier. So the easiest way to explain it is Zapier connects your apps so they can work for you automatically. And what's cool about this one is it doesn't replace the tools you're already using. It just makes them talk to each other. And now for businesses that want to stay ahead, Zapier is the easiest way to inject AI into your organization. You can start small with a very simple Zap. So for example, when a new lead fills out a form, Zapier can instantly use AI to analyze their company description, qualify the lead based on your criteria, and then only add the qualified lead to your CRM and send a Slack alert to the right salesperson. Once I stopped being the middleman, I got hours of focus back every week. So if you want your apps to handle the repetitive stuff so you can focus on real work, go see what Zapier can automate for you. And now back to the video. So the World Cup will be played in June and July, which puts several host cities right now into the peak of their heat season. Dallas had 47 days above 100 degrees Fahrenheit last year. Houston had 38 days. Miami's heat index often goes beyond 110 degrees Fahrenheit. And Atlanta just recorded its hottest summer in nearly 70 years. Okay, now keep in mind, yes, Qatar is hot, but they moved their World Cup to November because of that. Several US cities are edging into similar territory, but without Qatar's air-conditioned stadiums. Now, this means that fan zones, outdoor viewing areas, and transportation hubs will be operating in extreme heat in some cases. So safety plans will need to account for heat stress, crowd density, and emergency response times. Now, despite all this, I think that transportation could be the biggest challenge of all of this. See, most past hosts have super big rail networks, subways, trains, think like Tokyo, Berlin, London, even Doha. These cities can move tens of thousands of people very efficiently without cars, but American cities are built differently. LA Metro carries only about 5% of daily commuters. In fact, I made an entire video about why people don't take the metro in Los Angeles. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can go check that out. Dallas Rail has less than 2%, Miami Rail has about 7%, and Kansas City has no major rail network. So this means that visitors will rely heavily on rideshare, private vehicles, tens of thousands of fans requesting Uber at the same time. It's gonna cause a lot of traffic, prices could surge, traffic could stall, and local infrastructure could get overwhelmed quite quickly. And this is likely the part of the World Cup that the average fan will feel the most. The friction of navigating a car-dependent city before and after a game. The last time the US hosted a World Cup, it was 1994, and it was the most attended tournament in history. But that was a smaller, simpler event, held in a country with less strain on its infrastructure. This World Cup will interact with the US exactly as it exists today. While it's highly capable in some areas, it's stretched thin in others. Between the airports, visa systems, and lack of mass transit, and even the heat conditions, there really isn't a single answer here to, is the US ready? I mean, some parts are, some parts clearly are not. But what the 2026 World Cup will show is ultimately how the modern United States is positioned and how it performs under pressure, not just in theory, but in practice. So let me know in the comments below, do you think that it'll be a smooth event? And what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge in pulling this thing off? While you're at it, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.